I'm Ngân, and in this chapter, we are going to discuss the issues that managers can face as they manage in the global environment. It's not unusual for Germans or Italians or Vietnamese to speak at least two languages. On the other hand, most US children only study one language, which is English at school. Americans tend to think that English is the only international business language, and they don't see a need to study another language. This is one sign that this is a nation which is parochialism, which means viewing the world solely through your own perspective, leading to an inability to recognize differences between people. But this is not the only one. There are three possible global attitudes: ethnocentric attitude, polycentric attitude, and geocentric attitude. The first one, ethnocentric, is that the parochial belief that the best work, approaches, and practices are those of the home country. The second one, polycentric attitude, is the view that the managers is in the host country know the best work approaches and practices for running their business. And the last one, geometric attitude, is the world-oriented view that focuses on using the best approaches and practices and people from around the globe. Global trade today is shaped by two forces: regional trading alliance and trade mechanisms that ensures that the global trade is enabled and can happen. Regional trading alliance is including EU, NAFTA, Asian, and others. EU stands for European Union. It's a union with 27 European nations created as a unified economic and trade entity. NAFTA stands for North America Free Trade Agreement. It's an agreement among the Mexican, Canadian, and US government in which barriers to trade have been eliminated. ASEAN stands for Association of Southeast Asia Nations. It's a trading alliance with 10 Southeast Asia nations. To counteract some of the risk in global trade, the World Trade Organization, WTO, plays an important role in monitoring and promoting trade relationships. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank Group are two entities that provide monetary support and advice to their member countries. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development assists its member countries with financial support in achieving sustainable economic growth and employment.
My name is Thư and I will continue to introduce my part, which is doing business globally. Well, organizations in different industries and they may come from the different countries do business globally, but how they do so? Companies doing business globally aren't new. Today, few companies don't do business internationally, but there's not a generally accepted approach to describe the different type of international companies. Different other call them different things. And we use the terms like multinational, multi-domestic, global, and transnational. A multinational corporation, MNC, is any type of international company that maintains operations in multiple countries. One type of MNC is about multi-domestic corporation, which is decentralized management and other decisions to the local country. Whereas another type of MNC, which is called a global company, they centralize its management and other decisions in the home country. And the other type use an arrangement that eliminates artificial geographical barriers. This type of MNC is often called transnational or borderless organizations and reflects geocentric attitudes. Well, so how organizations go international? When the organizations do international, they often use different approaches. Managers who want to get into the global market with minimal investment may start with global sourcing, which is purchasing material or labor from around the world, wherever it is the cheapest. Well, the next step in going international may involve exporting the organization's product to other country, that is making product domestically and selling them abroad. In addition, the organization might do importing, which involves acquiring products made abroad and selling them domestically. Manager might also use the licensing or the franchising, which are similar approaches involving one organization giving another organizations the right to use its brand name, technology, or also their product specification in return for a lump sum payment and for a fee usually based on sales. Like one way to increase investment is through the strategic alliance, which is a partnership between organizations and a foreign company partner, or a partners in which both share resources and knowledge in developing new products or building products facility. So, Minh Thư will describe the next part.
Hi, my name is Thư and I'm going to talk about managing in a global environment. The law and political stability are issues in a global political or legal environment which the manager have to be familiar with. Likewise, the manager should also be aware of a country's economic culture, such as currencies, exchange rate, or inflation rates, or tax policies. Great Hofstede have found out 5 dimensions for assessing the country's culture, and these are: the first one is individualism versus collectivism. The second one is power distance. The third one is uncertainty avoidance. The third one is achievement nurturing, and last one is short-term versus long-term orientation. Whereas the globe studies identify 9 dimensions for assessing the country's culture, and these are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, assertiveness, humane orientation, future orientation, institutional collectivism, gender differentiation, in-group collectivism, and the last one is performance orientation. The main challenges in doing business globally in today's world is the openness associated with the globalization, as well as the significant culture difference between countries. And it also includes that managing in the workplace, which require the manager have to have a cultural intelligence as well as a global mindset. So it is the end of my part. Now, Linh will go deeply in the case application 1.
Hello, my name is Linh and I will continue the presentation with the first case applications, Dirty Little Secrets.
So now let's discuss some questions. The first one. What is your reaction to this event? Are you surprised that bribery is illegal? Why do you think that bribery takes place? Why do you think it needs to be outlawed? I was not surprised that bribery is illegal because it is dishonest and unfair. However, it still exists because it will be a successful way to get profit up. Besides, it needs to be outlawed because it corrupts people and builds a very distrustful and unhealthy work environment. Move to the second question. Research whether other countries outlawed bribery. Based on my research, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, up to 2019, there are 44 countries across the world outlaw bribery. The third question. We have said that it's important for managers to be aware of external environmental forces, especially in the global settings. Discuss this statement in light of the event described. External environment forces, such as negative publicity, need to be countered with positivity around and in the workplace. For that, managers need to keep employees who are working under-resourced. That all of the news are only allegations, and none of it is true to keep the morale high in the workplace. The fourth question. What my managers here at Siemens AG have done differently? Explain. I think the most important thing that they would have done differently would be doing things in the correct way by taking new managers and new organizational culture. The last question. Siemens company is not the only company to be linked to bribery. Find at least 3 other examples and describe them briefly. Based on my knowledge, the first case is Alcatel-Lucent SA. At the end of 2010, Bloomberg reported that Alcatel-Lucent, a largest landline phone network company in the world, settled its bribery case with the Department of Justice in 2010 by agreeing to pay $137 million, including $45 million to the SEC. The second case, Elliott Brown Group, known as KBR, was spun off from a subsidiary of Halliburton. According to the New York Times in 2009, the Department of Justice charged that company of offenses under CFPA, including paying hundreds of millions of dollars to secure a natural gas plant construction contract to Nigerian officials. And the last, Walmart Inc., an American multinational retail corporation that operates a chain of hypermarkets, discount department stores, and grocery stores. This company had paid bribes to obtain permits in vital every corner of the country. That is the end of my presentation.
Well, the case application 2 of the chapter 4 is about the global stumble. In this case, it talks about the difficulty when expanding the business to foreign countries and the barrier in management because of the cultural differences. So let's move to question number 1. The 2 obvious cultural differences between Nomura and Lerman in this situation is how quickly decisions were made and how women were treated. The question number 2. Initially, Nomura adopted the ethnocentric attitude. They believe on their own people are the best choice to run the foreign operation, and that in the process of Tokyo HQ should be adopted at their overseas offices. Nomura started promoting a mixture of nationality from Europe and Asia to the high-ranking position. Also transfer two of their Japanese heads of division to London and New York. Moreover, since 2010, Nomura Executive Committee has had the appearance of foreigners. Question number 3. There are lots of things different between Japan and US culture, but I am only talk about two main follow aspects. The first one is speed and consistencies. Generally, American companies are quick in decision making, and for Japanese company, decision making is done in stages. These stages are backed by plenty of meeting and documentation. The second one is the roles and responsibilities. The US company are very individual and require individual input towards the whole group, but recognize that the whole group must succeed, otherwise individual's contribution has no meaning. In question number 4, there are 4 things Nomura can do to support, promote and encourage cultural awareness among employees. The first one is education, building the cultural knowledge and its benefit. The second one is celebrate diversity. It means holiday policies, hosting a staff dinner with the theme of cultural awareness. The third one is company leadership. Seek out minority employees for leadership position, and the second one is diversity training. It can help employees to recognize prejudice and the cultural assumption. The final question is, it need to move toward an geocentric attitude that require eliminating and developing an understanding of cross-cultural differences. Nomura is trying to apply this attitude and is in the progress of moving towards become geocentric for a better working environment for its staff and for the business.